you sons of guns.
We're live. And we're live.
Welcome to Football Today, Week 2 Power Rankings. It's our weekly show between me and Justin where we do what's in the title. We go through the power, and then we rank the power of the NFL football teams. We're going to go from 32 to number 1. Some big shakeups this week, Justin, for me at least, right? Like we have the cumulative, but I made some big jumps when I was just putting it together. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had this team in the 20s last week. Now I got them in the top 10. So some big shakeups. Justin, how are you?
Bobby Skinner, I am good, my friend. I had some huge shakeups too, and some shakeups where I thought that they were shakeups, and then you went and shook some things up more. And how these power rankings work is Bobby puts together a list, I put together a list, and we average the two out together. So there's actually going to be some teams that we're going to be talking about that I'm going to be like, hey, you had them ranked here, but I also had them ranked here, and that's why they may be a little lower or higher than you expect. Welcome to everybody that's watching. If you're on Twitter, go to YouTube, and if you're hanging out on YouTube on the live stream, click the like button. Boom, there you go. Let's talk some football.
Let's talk some football. So we do our weekly segment to start it off, Justin. Which fan base is going to be the most mad about their rankings, Justin?
I mean, I feel like every week it is the Steelers, but they have a bad offense. I mean, at the end of the day, their offense is still bad, and they don't score a lot of touchdowns. And what you need to do in this league is you need to score touchdowns. So, I mean, I feel like it is going to be the Steelers. But also, man, this week was weird, man, because you had a lot of good teams lose, and there's a lot of teams like the Bucks, like the Saints, that are looking for respect. Even the Steelers, teams that are looking for respect, teams that are 2-0. Even the Cardinals that have one of the best offenses in football right now. But is it just a 2-week overreaction to put those teams really high and put some of these other teams lower, like the Cowboys that just lost, like the Eagles that just lost? The Bengals are 0-2. The people are going to get mad that we have the Bengals up high still. That's what people are going to get mad at.
We still have the Ravens. Actually, they dropped a little low. But I feel like the Atlanta Falcons could be like, we have the Falcons at number 20, we'll say. Like, and they just beat the Eagles. They are a team that's talented. And, I think if you're a Falcon, from the Falcons' point of view, you're like, hey, we're writing off week 1. So it's basically a brand new team. Didn't look good. And the Steelers are, 2-0, really good defense, write it off. But we start with number 32, Justin, and we work our way to number 1. Where do you want to go first?
Well, we're going to, like you said, we're going to start off with number 32. And at 32, not surprisingly, is the Carolina Panthers that just benched Bryce Young. Maybe they'll have an opportunity to move up to 31 or even 30 if Andy Dalton guides. I mean, the Carolina Panthers offensive line and some of their advanced numbers are pretty decent. So if Andy Dalton can start completing the ball a little bit and they can maybe win a couple games, maybe they do move up. But as of right now, they're at number 32. The Denver Broncos are at 31. The Giants are down to 30. The Washington Commanders are 29. That's going to be a fan base that is not going to be happy. The fact that they're 1-1. They technically do have the lead in the NFC East because they have the win over the divisional opponent Giants. They're 1-1 and at 29. That's going to be a fan base that is not excited about that. The Tennessee Titans are at 28. The Las Vegas Raiders are at 27. Dude, the Colts at 26. And the New England Patriots are at 25.
So which team do you want to talk about the most? Because I think the team that people were really high on going into this year was the Indianapolis Colts. And then now they are viewed at against, they're 26, right? So there's only 3 teams that we have rated lower than them, right? And you look at the teams below them, and you're like, it's either like bad quarterback or just overall really bad team. I'm out on the Colts until they make a defensive coordinator change or Anthony Richardson plays up to his potential. And we talked about this on the Monday recap show, that when you are the Indianapolis Colts and you draft Anthony Richardson and he misses essentially the majority of his first season, you have to have patience, right? So even though Anthony Richardson's a bad QB right now, you need to have patience with him. You need to let him develop. What you shouldn't be having patience with is Gus Bradley. His defensive have been bad. They give you no advantage. They make it easy to play offense against you. Like you can run essentially whatever you want against them. I don't care where their talent's at. Like it gives you no advantage, that defensive scheme. And it was a holdover from the last regime, right? So when we did our coaching power rankings, I put Shane Steichen a little lower. Like, get your own defensive coordinator. Why would you hold over Gus Bradley? And they're bad. And until Anthony Richardson shows it, Anthony Richardson's a bad quarterback. So you have a team that's not overly talented on offense. It's got good talent, a bad QB, and a really bad defense that just got beat by Malik Willis. I'm extremely low on the Colts, and I wasn't high on them going to the season. They were my dark horse number one, first overall pick, and I'm lower than on them now than I was then.
And meanwhile, I'm sitting here saying that the Colts could be a dark horse Super Bowl team, and that. Granted, I think there was a lot of people saying that the Colts are a dark horse team to be like the Houston Texans last year, even though that was a weird sentence to say because the Colts were like the Houston Texans last year, literally record-wise, and it came down to one of the final drives of the game where they could have stole the AFC South if they're during the last week of the season if Gardner Minshew wasn't a totally bad quarterback and missed throws. And that's what makes this really frustrating as a Colts fan. Number one, I have to imagine you're really frustrated on both sides of the ball, but at least you can understand. You're disappointed in Anthony Richardson, but I think you can understand with the lack of experience. And hey, even last year, he didn't even play a lot last year either. So this is still technically his rookie-ish year. You can understand Anthony Richardson
until he shows it.
You can understand Anthony Richardson, but you're right. Like the defense and running it back with this defense. You drafted Latu in the first round, sure, but you're running it back with the same defense. You gave a lot of guys extensions on that defense, and a young secondary that struggled last year, basically gained another year of experience, and it's really bad. That is the more frustrating part about this Indianapolis Colts team. A team that is, it's homegrown with talent. It's supposed to be talented, and it's just they're not playing like it right now.
No, and you can't lose to Malik Willis and let a team run for 250
yards. No, you can't.
So here's the thing. The Colts are 26 for us. I had them at 28th. I had the Commanders, Giants, and Broncos and Panthers as the only teams worse than them. Like I'm that low on them. Where did you personally have the Colts?
I had them 24th. So, I mean, it's gone from there's some dramatic twists and turns this week in power rankings. And I think our socials team we weren't able to do it this week, but I think our socials team is gonna do a good job of kind of showing what teams went up like +3, +4, +5, or -6, 7, 8, 9. So we made some dramatic turns, and I'm with you where I went from the Colts of like being like, hey, we're competing in the AFC South. We have a roster that can do it, but between this defense that is just extremely, extremely soft and Anthony Richardson that is not operating within structure right now. It's not sustainable. It's bad. It's bad football right now for the Indianapolis Colts. Who do we have? Who do they have coming up this Sunday? Do you know on the top of your head? I'm going to pull up Week 3 schedule.
I don't know off the top of my head. I think there's a different candidate for the fan base that's most mad. The Raiders at 27. I had them at 26. So you had them a little lower. They did just beat the Ravens, and you know me, I really like the Chargers, and that's the one team that they lost to. Right. But I think and Gardner Minshew is throwing for a lot of yards. I just think even though they have Max Crosby and Crosby played so well against the Ravens, I don't think either one of us really believe in their talent, right?
No. I believe in their ability to steal some football games and win some football games here and there. But the way that I do power rankings is if these two teams were to play tomorrow, who do I choose to win? And odds are it's going to be a lot of these teams that are in front of the Las Vegas Raiders than the teams that are, behind them. So about the Colts, though.
And they will be 2-1 if they play the Panthers this week.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. So the Colts, I love this matchup for, basically any quarterback that plays this Colts defense. I guess you like the matchup, but I love it especially for Caleb Williams, who has done a very good job of actually getting rid of the ball in under 2.5 seconds. And when he does get rid of the ball in under 2.5 seconds, it's pretty efficient. And he's also been very good against teams that don't blitz him. And what are the Colts probably not going to do? They're probably not going to blitz him that much. And they're going to allow, they're going to allow stuff underneath. I need to cough. Mute me. Bobby talk.
While he talks, there's Coach Belichick in the chat. Good to see you, Coach. You are one of my football heroes. Hope you're doing well. People don't know he's actually we tried to get John Boy Media to hire him, just like every other media company, and they told us no. Was a little disappointed in that verdict, but it is what it is. Other teams, I moved the Giants down from 28 to 30, which the Commanders game winner of that game, loser of that game was going to go to number 30 for me, unless the Broncos or Panthers did something miraculous in week 2. So it's sad to just be like, yep, my team is bottom 3. But I thought the Commanders were probably their best matchup outside the Panthers the rest of the year, and they failed that matchup. And I, talk about Colts defensive coordinator. I'm not very high on the Giants defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, right now. Justin, anything else from the 25 to 32 range?
No, I don't think so, man. I'm excited to see how the Pats play the Bengals. This week. I think that's it.
Who play the Bengals?
Don't the Pats play? I'm sorry, the Pats are playing the Jets. I'm excited to see how the Pats play the Jets on Thursday night, because I think, hey, Jets have a defense right now that is not a very good run defense. The Patriots have been running the ball. They want to run the ball. So there kind of is sort of a path for victory for the New England Patriots on Thursday night. So I am excited to see how that game plays out, even if it's a boring kind of game.
Yep. All right, let's hit the next range.
Oh, the next range of teams, our next 8 teams. We have the Chicago Bears at 24, and that pains us. The Jacksonville Jaguars at 23. This is where you see a lot of shakeup. Jaguars at 23. The Dolphins at 22. They put Tua on IR. The Browns.
That's why they're so low. It's just because Tua's on IR.
That's why they're so low. The Browns are at 21. The Falcons are at 20. The Cardinals are at 19. The Rams down to 18, and the Steelers are at 17.
Where do you want to go off of this group?
But I guess, maybe we'll start with the Dolphins and their QB situation, because they have Tyler Huntley, who I think should start as soon as possible. But obviously you have Skylar Thompson that kind of just knows the system a little bit more. They have a running game that they can lean on. But I'm also speaking selfishly from the standpoint of I am a Tyreek Hill fantasy owner in 2 leagues, and I am desperately waiting for, even though I don't think Tyler Huntley is going to be this great distributor, I'm confident in him to get the ball to Tyreek Hill. And therefore, I'm more confident in a Tyler Huntley offense where at least he has the threat of his legs. Skylar Thompson probably does not. They need to get Huntley in this offense involved quickly, right?
I'm actually, now that Tua's out, I'm actually more interested in the Dolphins in the sense that, I want to see what it looks like without Tua, right? Because, whenever there's a quarterback like Tua, right, someone like who I personally don't believe in and didn't think was worth being paid, but they are better than the alternatives, right? Like the whole, like when people argue against, and I think Brock Purdy's better than Tua, but against Purdy, it's like, well, you could put anybody on that offense too. Well, it's like Trey Lance couldn't do it. And he had all the talent in the world, right? So it wasn't a talent issue. He couldn't run that offense. It'll be interesting to see how Mike McDaniel, changes it, or how but like you said, they have talent. They have receivers. They have a really good running game. How does it look without Tua? So that'll be interesting. Where are you at with the Falcons after that Monday night victory over the Eagles? Because it wasn't pretty, but they did get the victory versus the Eagles.
They were really good on early downs. That was the main thing. And you even look on that final drive, the only third down that they faced on that final drive was the 3rd and 5, the touchdown to Drake London, which, by the way, Drake London, man, we can't have that penalty. How long was that extra point?
I kind of loved it, though.
we are a culture of violence on this on our 2 shows. So Kirk still didn't move well. But I love their ability. I love their ability to throw the ball on early downs. They only face 9 third downs, and this is probably, you probably hear a lot of national shows will talk about, oh, the Falcons were only 2 for 9 on 3rd down. I kind of ignore that sometimes. Where when I see that you have less than 10 third downs faced in a game, and you run a good amount of offensive plays, and the other team that you're playing has, even if they have a good 3rd down conversion rate, which I think the Eagles were 6 for 13 on 3rd down, so that's a pretty good 3rd down conversion rate. But that tells me that the Falcons are taking care of business on early downs. They're running the ball well. They threw the ball well on early downs, and I think it's one of the main differences in this game, really. And Saquon Barkley dropping the ball. But still, Kirk not moving well is a concern.
People do forget Saquon dropped the ball. Yeah, it's a huge concern. Like he doesn't look right, so it's hard to be high on them until you see Kirk do that. but here's what one reason I'm high on the Falcons, everyone looks at like, oh, they added Kirk and now Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts are all going to be used to their potential. The reason why I was high on them going into the season was their defense. I love their defense, and then they added Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons. I still think the pass rush is lackluster, but like those are real deal additions for them, right? But now they still need to create sacks and turnovers, which they haven't been. They have 3 sacks this year, Justin. 1.5 of them is Matthew Judon. So they and then they only have the 1 interception is Jesse Bates, and that was the thing on the Falcons defense. It's like it's really sound. They play the run really well. They don't give up big plays, but Jesse Bates has 6 of their 8 interceptions, and they're one of the worst sack teams in the NFL. So they still need to be better in those areas. But I really like this defense, and if they can just hold it down, because the run game's sick too, like with Bijan and Algieri, the little bit of carries that he gets, like I don't understand why they don't just give Bijan the ball like as much as humanly possible until Kirk looks like he's fully healthy. So I personally put the Falcons at 19. And I'm holding out hope for them, but until Kirk, like I said, until Kirk can really move well, I can't be super high on this team.
I know. That's the thing where there's going to be a pass rush that's going to get to him a little bit more. I will say though, Bobby, we were talking about our, the one saving grace for the New York Giants so far this year is that their offensive line's pretty good. So on our mailbag pod last night, we were looking at overall efficiency rankings and metrics of interior offensive linemen. Through 2 weeks, do you know who is last in the NFL in pass blocking efficiency across guards?
Chris Lindstrom.
Chris Lindstrom. We talked about it last night, and that shocked us both. I mean, I think it was Williams, the interior defensive lineman, got a sack over him on Kirk.
Milton Williams, yeah.
And then week 1. Like there was some next gen stats that came out that Chris Lindstrom struggled against some interior defensive linemen from the Steelers as well. So Chris Lindstrom not off, at least pass blocking wise, not off to a hot start of the season, and he's supposed to be one of the league's best guards. So not great.
I want to ask you another thing because you told me you wanted to talk about the Cardinals. I had the Cardinals at 20 and the Rams at 21. Where did you have them and why?
I have the Cardinals at 17. I have the Rams at 15. We'll start off with the Cardinals first. Dude, they're a good offense right now, and they're kicking ass. And what they're doing is they're really efficient throwing the ball. They're really efficient throwing the ball on early downs. They're really efficient on throwing the ball on late downs, but they're running the ball more than they're throwing. Now I don't think they're overly efficient running the ball, but I think their commitment to I sound like a fucking old head, right? But I do think their commitment to the run game, and I think they're not bad. They're not bad in the run game. And there's a stat that sticks out to me in particular about the Cardinals run game to start. There are 2 guys in the top 10 on the same team, and the only 2 guys that are on the same team in the top 10 for runs of the amount of runs that are charted of over 15 miles per hour this year. Those 2 teammates are Kyler Murray and James Conner. They're both in the top 10 in the amount of runs of 15 plus miles per hour, and they're the only 2 teammates in there. And they're the only, obviously, quarterback running back duo that's in the top 10 as well. So even though it's like, okay, well, they're really efficient throwing the ball in early downs, but they're not spamming it over and over again. They're also not spamming the run over and over again. They have different weapons. They have answers that they can go to. Marvin Harrison Jr. broke out week 2, which is awesome. You still have Trey McBride, and you have the threat of Kyler Murray's legs, and James Conner has been, chugging along as the first 2 weeks have gone on. And we know that when Kyler Murray was under center during the second half of 2023, that the Cardinals had the most efficient running game in the NFL. So they're kind of they're humming right now. And I think that offense can continue to hum as we've barely seen Marvin Harrison Jr. We've seen him have one good game. We've barely seen Trey. I feel like they have just a lot of answers that they can go to, and I think it's only going to get better.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I mean, this year, early on, the commitment to the run is going to help teams because of the way teams are playing defense. They've ran the ball more times than they've thrown it by a pretty decent margin.
Right.
And then when they do throw the ball, they're extremely efficient, right? Kyler's completing 73% of his passes, over 8 yards per attempt, no interceptions. So they're really efficient when they do that. The thing is even though they're, they They held the Rams to what was it? Let me look it up because they did well. They held the Rams to 10 points.
Yeah.
The Rams, now I'm higher on the Cardinals than Rams. I have them high because the Rams are just so injured. They're just so injured.
And their offensive line is the worst in football right now.
I don't believe that
it's very injured. It's very injured, but that offensive line is the worst in football right now.
Yeah, so I really like their offense. I liked it before the season. I think Drew Petzing, their offensive coordinator, is going to be in line for like head coaching jobs this offseason. My issue is I don't think that defense can stop any good offense.
You're talking
that's why they're not like top. It's a top half of the league offense in my opinion. But the defense has potential to be, bottom 5.
You're talking about the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Rams are just too injured for me to take them serious right now.
Right.
Which was my worry about the years because they are old with a lot of their key players.
But that's why I'm high on the Cardinals because I believe that at least in the regular season, I believe that offense can take you places. And it'll be a really fun whenever the Cardinals face against the Seahawks, which is not this week. I know that for a fact. The Cardinals' opponent this week is Detroit. The Lions. Hell yeah. Oh, that's such a fun matchup.
The Lions, I could see putting 40 up on that defense.
But then can't you see
especially
can't you see Arizona possibly putting up 35? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
like I think that
shot.
Like without looking at the full schedule, I think that might be the highest scoring game of the week, especially if the Lions are going to play so much man coverage. So yeah, that offense is fun. I just don't believe in the defense until further notice. Anything else from this tier of teams?
Anything else from this tier? We talked about the Steelers, man. The Steelers are the Steelers.
Oh, the Steelers are at 17. All right, so let me ask you this. Where did you rank the Steelers? Because I ranked the Steelers at 14, above the Ravens.
I have them 16, and I put the Ravens at 11. So I think if the Ravens were to play, but I'm really down.
Where are
you
at
Ravens
with the Steelers overall?
They're not a good offense, and this is every year, though. This is every year. They're not a good offense, and I just don't believe in teams that don't have good offenses, but they win football games. Great.
Yeah, listen, I don't believe in them as a contender. I have them at 14th. But here's where that defense is really good, obviously. And if you're saying, hey, we don't have a good offense, but our defense is really good, how do you want our offense to operate? I want it to operate the way the Pittsburgh Steelers do, where it's run the ball, don't turn it over, create a few big plays to George Pickens, and that's how I want my offense to operate. If you told me, we said it before the year, this is how the Steelers offense should operate. You get in 12 personnel, run the ball, play action, take a few deep shots up the sideline, use Justin Fields' legs, and they're doing that to a T, and that defense is really good where I take them serious, but I don't take them serious as like a team that can challenge in the AFC for a title.
Yeah, they're using Darnell Washington as a blocker. Nate Tice is posting Darnell Washington blocking clips every single week like he's a freaking tackle. Yes,
we asked for that.
You have to protect Justin Fields, because Justin Fields will take sacks, and you have to protect him. And they're doing a great job at limiting the negative plays, and that is what has killed Justin Fields in his career. Is that you have some of the electric positive plays. You have the threat of his legs, but it's the negative plays that have killed Justin Fields' career. How long is that going to last? How long is playing perfect football and running all these plays without making a mistake? How long is that going to last? And I'll tell you what,
they're not going to go 12-5, but they can go 10-7 like they did last year. I think the division is a little vulnerable. The Ravens with that offensive line, their loss of defensive talent, like the Ravens to me they are flawed. I think they're going to be so Lamar dependent that I just can't. Another team, like I'm not taking them serious as a title contender until they show me that defense can make up for the talent they lost and not be so Lamar dependent on offense, where the Steelers, like I at least feel really good about their defense. Tell me what about the Ravens outside of just Lamar being good do I feel super confident in with the Baltimore Ravens?
But that's also why I have the Ravens higher, is because like that type of shit can work in the postseason, and that type of shit does win you divisions. Is just having a good quarterback that can do whatever he wants.
I agree. But here's why I separated them by one. I put the Steelers at 14, Ravens 15.
Right.
Is that for me to put an 0-2 team over a 2-0 team, it has to be a team that I view can win a championship. And I didn't think the Ravens could do that going into the year. And then when you lose to a team like the Raiders, then I'm not giving you the overall benefit of the doubt. Like even the Bengals losing to the Patriots, like the Patriots defense is really good. They run the ball well. There's not much there as a passing offense.
Do you know who the Steelers play this weekend?
They play
Chargers. Dude.
One of those teams is going to be 3-0. And it's not going to be the Steelers.
It's a good observation.
That is a good observation.
So it's a truly funny observation. You want to know what else is a funny observation?
Oh, jacked up.
What's a funny observation is that we do a power ranking show, and it's brought to you by DraftKings. That's a funny observation right there. And we're talking about, hey, the Steelers can't score touchdowns. The Steelers can't score touchdowns, right? You want to know why I like going to DraftKings? It's because I like touchdowns, and I like betting touchdowns. I like teams that score touchdowns. TD, tutty, taking it to the house, whatever you call it. Whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports book partner of the NFL. Right now, all new customers who bet just $5, you're going to instantly get $250 in bonus bets, plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Now, that's something we can all celebrate. You want to know how I found out that Cardinal stat where James Conner and Kyler Murray, the only two pair of teammates that have a lot of runs of 15 plus miles per hour? NFL Plus Premium, because they have a lot of fun stats that I like. And all you have to do is bet just $5, plus the DraftKings Sportsbook will give you $250 in return as well. How do you like that? Tell your family members to sign up, because you're probably signed up. I mean, you're listening to us. You listen to a lot of what we do. You know that we've been talking about DraftKings for a long time. So get some of your friends to sign up too, and give them, maybe you can even split some of the money that you get, right? That's $250 in bonus bets instantly in 1 month of NFL Plus Premium after betting just $5. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy, and you have the shot to win cash prizes. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers use promo code football today. That's all one word. Bet just $5 on any wager. Get $250 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code football today. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did.
We're going to talk about the Chargers here soon, Justin. There's a new Jim Harbaugh line. Yeah. I wonder if he must have I don't know who he got this from. He said, like Moses, I'm going to die leaning on my staff.
One of the best I've ever been around.
What about his coaching style? What about his kind of like teaching philosophy lends itself to such good like running production?
He's just a great coach. I mean, one of the best I've ever been around. Like Moses, I'm gonna die leaning on my staff.
Oh my God.
Greg Roman, Jesse Minter, Ryan Fick, and those coordinators are, in my opinion.
I love you, Jim.
That you know what? If John Boy puts out a video tomorrow, or if somebody is, hey, there was a reporter at the warehouse today. There was a reporter at the warehouse.
Air Media.
It was pretty cool. I think that's who it was, right?
He was at the upfronts.
I probably would make sense. And if John Boy puts out a quote tomorrow saying, "I'm gonna," what was the Harbaugh quote?
Like Moses, I'm gonna die leaning on my staff.
If he says that, you know how much that would fire up the company. Like, hell yeah, John Boy, Jim.
Hello,
let's go,
Jim. John Boy Media Football. How about that?
Jim Harbaugh, John Boy, Jimmy, same name.
I tried to get them to hire Bill Belichick, and they didn't. I'd love to work with Bill Belichick.
Belichick is here.
Yeah, he's in the chat. And again, I hope he knows I'm not like the Falcons. I didn't deny hiring you.
Oh, it's true.
All right. So are we good with that? The 17 to 24 tier?
Yeah. Let's get to the top half. That's what people. It's why people watch, man. It's why they pay the big bucks. It's why they pay us the big bucks. So let's talk 16.
I actually
9.
disagree. I think people watch to see who they're going to be mad about being in the bottom half.
Hey, well, guess what? We're giving the Bucs some respect for all the people that think we have Tampa Bay Buccaneer bias. Here we go. 16.
I'm so biased against the city of Tampa.
16, we have the Minnesota Vikings. That's maybe a team that's maybe a fan base that's like, you have us at 16. The Seattle Seahawks are at 15. The Baltimore Ravens fall to 14. The Los Angeles Chargers jump up to 13. Bobby and I still have a discrepancy on where they're ranked. 12, we have the Jets. 11, we have the Bucks. 10, the Saints. Hello, where were they last week? And the Cowboys are at 9. I want to put the Chargers to bed because we talk about the Chargers so much in the show. Let the record show that you have the Chargers at 6, and I have them at 18.
I think there's so many flawed teams in the NFL this year. Right. So let's go through some of the teams below them. The Saints, I'm really high on the Saints, which we'll talk about. The Packers, they did a great thing this week, but they lost to the Eagles week 1. The Bengals, I mean, they're 0-2. The Bucks, okay, they're good. The Cowboys, we saw them just got their doors blown off. The Eagles, they're flawed. The Vikings, they got Sam Darnold at QB. I know he's playing well right now. They're not overly talented on defense. The Steelers, we don't believe in their offense. Like the Ravens, they're extremely flawed. Like there's a lot of flawed teams, and there's a team that is right now number 2 in rushing in the NFL, number 1 in defense, and has Justin Herbert at quarterback, an insane coaching advantage. I'm believing in that team. Like I truly believe in it. It's like I don't know how many times Jim Harbaugh has to do it until people just expect it, right? Like at what point? I know you can argue, oh, they didn't play good teams, right? Well, the Raiders just beat the Ravens, right? The Panthers suck. I understand that, but they demolished the Panthers. They're going to continue to run the ball well, right? They're going to continue to have their quarterback, Justin Herbert, right? Hopefully, he was on the injury report on Wednesday. Their defense, I think, is extremely well coached. You could talk about the teams they played. Well, they held the Raiders to 10 points after they scored 63 on them in their most recent matchup. I think Jesse Minter may be the next defensive up and coming defensive coordinator coming from Michigan. Was under Mike McDonald. What will the Chargers have to do for people to? What is it? Beat the Chiefs in a regular season game? Is that what it will be? It will be in the Steelers this week? Make the people take them a little more serious?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, to answer your question, yes. I will buy into this if we see that this type of play is sustainable, and I'm more worried about I get you with offense, man. I get what they're going to do on offense. Justin Herbert is going to elevate. You're going to have a run game that's going to be elevated by a really good coaching staff and a good offensive rushing scheme. I get that, and I've bought into it, but it's still the defense and that talent that they have that I'm waiting on. And I don't even know if that question is going to be answered against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, if they stop the run at a good rate, I'll be impressed with that, and I'm not going to be shocked if Justin Fields doesn't throw the ball well. I will give one person credit, and Bobby, this was a Senior Bowl guy who Grump and I liked a couple years ago. He's an interior defensive lineman from UCLA, and he's one of the best interior defensive linemen through 2 weeks in run stop rate, according to ESPN. Do you know who that person is?
Who is that person, Justin?
Otito Ogbonnia from UCLA. And that was a room where Bob, we talked about during the Chargers TPP that it's very thin, it's not very good, and that's been one player.
The Chargers are getting the most out of guys and putting them in places they belong and where they thrive.
Beat the Steelers. Shocked. Beat the Steelers.
Beat the Steelers, and they will beat the Steelers, right? And I'm trying, I'm checking in on the chat here and there, and I got someone being like, Seattle would blow the Chargers below the Chargers as wild. Beat an actual serious team. Who have the Seahawks beat? They beat the Patriots in double overtime, and then the Broncos, who we have number 31 at number 6. Other teams. So I'm very high on the Chargers, and I'm not going to let the fact that others aren't dissuade me. Other teams in there. We got to talk about Saints Cowboys, because the Cowboys are at 9, the Saints are at 10, and I have personally the Saints at 7 and the Cowboys at 11. So tell me why after that shellacking you had the Cowboys above the Saints.
Because I don't want to overreact to just 2 weeks. That's why.
Sure, but here's the thing is with the Saints, you're not overreacting to the defense being that good. It's been that good. It might even be a little better this year. And the Gary Kubiak effect is real.
Clint Kubiak.
Or sorry, I got to stop mixing him up with his dad. The Clint Kubiak effect is real.
Has Clint Kubiak ever been this is a dumb question. I'm sorry. You don't know ball. So has Clint Kubiak ever been a play caller before?
No. Now he's been around on some good staffs.
That's the thing where like
he was, with the 49ers last year. He was, the Broncos passing game coordinator for a year. Oh, he was the Vikings OC for 1 year in 2021.
I think there's gonna get a point where the Saints are not going to have 3 plays of 40+ yards in the first half every week.
No, but what they will be able to do is zone run like crazy, and they're going to be able to have an efficient play action, and then they're going to have a top 10 defense at their back to help them. So that's why I'm high on the Saints. It's not just overreacting to one win against the Cowboys. Is that I was already so high on their defense, and their offense I was not high on at all, but I was a little hopeful in Kubiak when we did our TPP on them. Now that I'm seeing the effects of Kubiak, I feel very confident in that team.
And I mean, this is a dramatic climb where week 1, I'm going to try and look really quick. I had the Saints at 25, and now week 2,
I had them at 18.
And now week 2, I put them up to 14. So that's a dramatic 11 position jump for me. I'm holding on to, I have some preconceived notions of the New Orleans Saints that I'm waiting for them to find their baseline. Like what is their baseline going to be? You heard me on, like, Chris Rose was kind of dismissive of them a little bit on the recap show. I wasn't dismissive. They kicked the shit out of the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are, even though they're a flawed unit with their linebackers and their interior defense alignment, but also credit, this is what the Shanahan people do. This is what the Shanahan-minded people do. Credit to the Saints for exposing the Cowboys' flaws, where it's their interior defensive line, it's their linebackers. So we're going to play action them to death. We're going to run at those interior defensive linemen, and they're not going to be able to do shit. We're going to get Derek Carr out of space because we know that he's not good under pressure. We're going to use Rashid Shaheed's speed. We know that we're really efficient with Taysom Hill on the field, so he's going to be on the field for 30 snaps a game. This is what little signs of what the Saints have done well in the past. It's like, okay, well, now we're just going to do it. So I'm for it, but I want to see what their baseline is.
I agree.
They play the Eagles this weekend, so this is a fun game that we haven't played yet. What is the line this weekend? It's Saints at home, Eagles on the road. What's the line?
Ooh, play Guess the Lines. I would love to just steal that segment from Bill Simmons. I'm going to go Saints -2.
-2.5. Good job.
How about that?
Good job.
But I want to ask you this question specifically with it, because I'm ready to defend having the Lions over the Bucs, even though the Bucs are 2-0, the Lions are 1-1, and the Bucs literally just beat the Lions. What about the Cowboys says they're just a better team than the Saints?
I trust the quarterback more.
That's fair. That would be my answer if I had them above.
I also trust the offensive line more.
Yeah, so that's my question with the Saints, because I know what Derek Carr is capable of. Derek Carr can have good seasons. He's done it. Yeah. Is how sustainable is that offensive line that was looked at like trash last year, and the only difference is Fuaga's in there, and he's playing really well.
And they lost Ramczyk, right?
Yeah, but Pening has played. Like, can Trevor Pening continue to play well? Like, that's like, so can that Saints offensive line not be as good as they've been the first 2 weeks, but can they be an above average unit? And then I feel really good about the Saints. If they play even just like slightly below, then I'm dropping the Saints down a couple notches.
Because that was one of the reasons why it wasn't me just hating Derek Carr and saying that Alvin Kamara was washed, even though I did think Alvin Kamara was washed. He has shown more evidence to him being washed than him being, okay, well, we're just back to being the number 1 fantasy running back again, like he's been through the first 2 weeks. One of the main reasons why I was so low on them is because their offensive line got worse. And Ramczyk was going to be out, and they were going to be relying on some young guys, and it wasn't on paper, it's not pretty. But the results, you cannot deny the results for the first 2 weeks of the season. You can't deny how good Derek Carr has been. You can't deny that Rashid Shaheed is going up there and making big plays. Chris Olave was, he was, I think, 36 inches away from getting a touchdown, but still, that's a guy that is a legit number 1 wide receiver in the NFL, a very underrated legit number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. And he's been involved, but he's kind of been like almost a little bit of a footnote in this offense where he could be involved in more. And that's another layer, and that's another wrinkle that they can add to the offense if other things aren't working is, oh yeah, we have Chris Olave too. All
right. Next, anything else from this from this bracket that sticks out. The Bucks at 11. I feel like that's right. I had them at 10th, right above the Cowboys and Eagles.
Yeah, they took a big jump.
So I guess the Eagles are in the next one we'll talk about. But you know what? Like what the Bucks did last year, I'm starting to buy into it a little more. Where it's like, all right, you know what? I would take them against the Eagles in a rematch. I think they could go toe to toe with Dallas.
Yeah. And do you look at me crazy when I say that Liam Cohen is an upgrade over Dave?
Dave. I actually didn't hate that. Now here's the thing: Liam Cohen, I didn't love his year with the Rams, so maybe he's come back a little bit better. And like they're having Baker's actually running play action well. My thing with the Bucks is how sustainable will that passing offense being this good be, and the running game's so bad.
I think it will improve though.
Yeah. Do you think if just putting Bucky Irving in there helps it improve?
I don't think it's going to improve it like that much astronomically, but I think it will help. And I think this offensive line, as they get more time together, I think that's going to help because you have Graham Barton, who's a rookie. Ben Bredesen's a new starter over there. Tristan Wirfs is going to do what he's going to do. I think they have a right tackle that's hurt right now. That was the right tackle.
Gadecki's injured.
Gadecki was injured, and then the first name is Justin. Don't know his last name. He allowed 5 sacks to Aiden Hutchinson. Great first name, but bad game against the Lions. So this is an offensive line that's going to think they're going to take time, but I do think Bucky Irving is going to be better than Rachaad White.
All right. Well, let's hit the top 8.
Let's hit the top 8. Hit it and then quit it. We have the Green Bay Packers at number 8. Who would have saw that coming? The Philadelphia Eagles are at 7. This is where people, the 7 and 6, I think is where people are going to roll their eyes and be like, you guys are maybe crazy. The Bengals at 6. Did they go up from last week?
I guess I had them at 9, so I'm wondering how they're at 6.
Because I had them at I had the Bengals. Bad radio. I had the Bengals at 7. I guess just because of averages and because of how different maybe some of
I think it was because we differed on some like teams between 6 and 20 so much.
We did.
We're both like we differ so much on Chargers and Saints.
Yeah. And we even differed on Eagles because you had the Eagles at 12 and I think I had the Eagles at 6. So the Bengals are at 6. The Lions at 5. The 49ers at 4. The Texans at 3. The Bills, new number 2, and your Kansas City Chiefs are still number 1.
Can I ask a question before we get into this?
Yeah.
Can the social media team put together a slideshow and it's like this is Bobby's power rankings and then this is Justin's power rankings?
I think we can. I mean, Kevin has access to the spreadsheet, so I think if we ask Kevin, he can maybe do that.
Kevin, please do that. Because I want to take some shit, but I want to take shit for like the Chargers being high. Not for all right. So let's talk about the Bengals. They're the elephant in the room.
I'm gonna have the YouTube chat open for this one.
I feel a lot better about having them above the Ravens last week when people lost their mind about that. Do you have any worries? Even like you still have them high. Do you have worries about them that they're 0-2 and if they're going to have the ability to recover and make the playoffs in a strong division?
No. If they have to win football games, they have to win football games now. I mean, you can't. If you're 0-3, then it's obviously it's a different story for me. Especially after you play the Chiefs. Okay, you shouldn't have lost to the Patriots. We know that they're bad. We know that
was so frustrating that they lost to the Patriots.
But you're going up against Steve Spagnuolo, who's been one of the best passing game coordinators in the league over the last couple of years. Like his defense just is so perfect it's a perfect answer as to what some offenses, I mean, even especially like Joe Burrow, what they're trying to do. I mean, even without T. Higgins and Jamar Chase still being kind of like limited-ish involvement, he was still 48th percentile in EPA per play and 70th percentile in CPOE. So I didn't see a Joe Burrow that didn't look right. Get T. Higgins back and have more answers for this Bengals offense. That's what they need. They need T. Higgins back and they need another answer in that offense. So who do they have this week? That's the age-old question. It has to start this week. Listen,
they kind of threw the game away against our number 1 team, which is the Kansas City Chiefs.
They have the Commanders Monday night.
Yeah, so get right, Cincinnati Bengals, and I think they have the Giants like right after that. So they're going to start winning some games.
If they don't kick the shit out of the Commanders in that secondary,
I'll drop them 20 spots. Fuck 'em.
Yeah. I mean, even if they win and it's nasty, I will drop them. And my hand up for all you people saying that you're an idiot. You called Dalton. I'm telling you, you called Dalton Feely and I idiots last year for keeping him this high, and I don't even know if we got credit for keeping him that high. And I know Joe Burrow eventually got hurt, and then of course we dropped him then. But I'm telling you, it's gonna happen again. They played a good game against the Kansas City Chiefs. T. Higgins wasn't there. This is a team that just starts bad. I think they're going to kick the shit out of the Washington Commanders at home, Monday Night Football. And if they don't, then that'll be a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's, you only get they start slow for the first 2 weeks. You can't do that. So yeah, they need to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, again, they threw the game away against the best team in the NFL, in the Kansas City Chiefs. If you asked us, like, all right, let's do this. Let's do this quick. Chiefs are defending their title. Give me your 3 best teams to challenge them in the AFC. Like, and I'm not talking just to you. Like, I'm challenging everyone listening. Give me the 3 teams you feel most confident about challenging them. And to me, it's the Texans, the Bills, and Chargers. I'll give Bengals the Bengals, yes, because the Bengals have done it in the playoffs, and they just threw the game away.
I really don't think it's the Jets.
No,
Jermaine Johnson just goes down, and Hassan
their
Reddick
pass rush is not good until Reddick gets there.
No.
Like, it's a solid pass rush, but it's not the strength that it was in the previous couple years.
The difference between a top 3 defense and a top 12 defense, even though I think that, like, I still think the Jets defense is an above average defense, but what they've had the last couple years is a top 4, top 3 defense, and that's an astronomical difference, especially when you talk about the postseason.
Yeah.
So the Jets aren't that.
Absolutely. So, and they have a big game coordinator in Lou Anarumo.
Yes. Who showed you Patrick Mahomes did not have a very good game. Like, over, I think 60%, 63% of his passes were behind the line of scrimmage, and like 70% of his yards were after the catch.
Yeah, the couple of, the intercept, but like, they weren't these bullshit interceptions. They were really good interceptions by the defense too. The Lions at 5. Are you worried about them at all? They just lost to the Bucs and they barely beat the Rams. They beat the Rams in overtime.
Who do they have this week? We talked about this.
I think they need to get their edge back, dude.
They have the
There was too many mental mistakes that a Detroit Lions Dan Campbell team should not make, right? Including the end of the half thing where they didn't get the team out there. But the Bucs are a good matchup too, man, because they stopped. That was their worst, rushing game last year in the regular season. Even though I think Montgomery might have been out for that game. Like, the Bucs are a great matchup for Detroit. Obviously, played them tough in the playoffs, but I think this Lions team is going to figure it out. Jameson Williams is leading the NFL in receiving yards, but I think they got to figure out. Here's the thing: I don't like that for them. Amon-Ra should be their leader in receiving yards, and obviously he had a great week too. So that will happen. But like, this offense needs to kind of get back to its a little bread and butter, right? Even the Rams game, right? They weren't really running the ball like that, and then they go in overtime. They just lean on them and win. They threw the ball 55 times against the Bucs. Get back that identity in the run game.
I mean, like 84 plays.
Yeah, I think they're gonna figure it out, but I do have like a little bit of concern in the back of my head for them.
Lions Cardinals -4.5 this weekend. There's no over under. There's only like 1 or 2 over unders that touch this. Ravens Cowboys is at 48.5. Chiefs Falcons is at 47.5. The over under for Lions Cardinals is 52.5.
I can't wait. That's going to be a fucking match. So, and that's the other thing about the Lions, where they definitely improved in their secondary, but that secondary has not looked great either.
No.
Like, Carlton Davis got smoked by, Chris Godwin this week. Terrion Arnold keeps on getting, pass interferences that put teams at the fucking 3-yard line. They need to obviously improve, and this they need that secondary to play more to their potential. And then, I mean, what other teams? I mean, so you have the Bills. You must have the Bills at 2, because I have them at number 3, and they're number 2 in the conglomerate.
Yes, I do.
Do you worry about what makes you so high on the Bills this year, besides just Josh Allen?
They have a kick-ass offense. They have a kick-ass offense that can run the ball for explosive plays, and they have Josh Allen that can throw the ball. I mean, they need more answers in the passing game other than Khalil Shakir. That is the worry.
And they need Keon Coleman to be what Keon Coleman's supposed to be.
Right.
I think that because the Bills are committed to running the ball this year, like really, really committed, I think they're kind of playing the long haul on this. Even if there's times where it's like, man, it'd be nice to just put the game in Josh Allen's hands, fully, right? Like let's just start get spread it out, drop back. I think they are really wanting to just be a good running team, but have teams really start to respect that, and then set it up for down the line for teams to be playing that way. And now we can get some of those explosive plays back, right? So instead of being the Patrick Mahomes, just master the way these defenses are playing and have the lowest average depth of target, in a sense, not asking Josh Allen to do that for 45 times a game, but do it 25 to 30 times. And if teams start to respect this, then we can get our balls back a little bit, throwing the ball down the field, and you're not going to be wincing and hoping he didn't have one of lead the league in interceptions again. So I think they're playing the long game there. I'm really high on them. I mean, I only had the Chiefs and the Texans above them, but the Bills are Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I agree. And if they can get Von Miller back and his get off, his get off is really
another
good
part
again.
of it. Von Miller looks back.
Yeah, if they can have him as one of the top edge rushers in the game again, that completely changes that defense, and it changes what they can do in the playoffs. Right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So
and Von Miller is the if Von Miller is not washed like what he looked like last year, he is someone who will just play better in the playoffs than he did in the regular season, like you're saying. So
I agree.
Anything else of note on this? I mean, we're all going to be high on the Texans. I hate not talking about the best teams, but I feel like it's kind of boring. Like they're the best teams.
But yeah, they're good. Congrats. Wish my team was that good.
I'm hoping we can get some more answers on the Chargers and Saints this week. That way we can get our averages a little closer on those. Even if, no matter who ends up being right and wrong, I prefer to be right, but I want us to be a little closer.
This weekend, I'm actually really excited for the preview pod that we're going to be recording tomorrow, and then that'll come out on Friday. This is a gut check week, man. You have the Bears and the Colts. Like, hey, Caleb Williams, you're playing a bad defense, man. You gonna take advantage of it? Texans, Vikings, both 2-0 teams. Who's for real? Like, Texans should take care of it, even though the Vikings are home. It's Texans -4. Vikings and their fans may be looking at that spread being like, interesting, man. Even if it's -2 or -2.5 for Texans, right? -4 is a big spread for a Vikings home game. Eagles, Saints. What do you got, Saints? Chargers, Steelers. What do you got? Even Panthers, Raiders. Andy Dalton's first game. Can he go in and can he beat the Panthers? Lions, Cardinals, we talked about it. Ravens, Cowboys. Huge. Are the Ravens going to seriously fall to 0-3? Are the Cowboys, who are at home, are they really? If Ravens are favored in this game by 1.5 points, it's a Cowboy home game. I don't know
who I'm picking in that game.
Are they seriously going to lose back-to-back home games after not losing a home game for 16 games? Chiefs, Falcons. That's the Sunday night game. And then you have Jaguars, Bills, Monday night. There's 2 Monday night games, by the way. Jaguars, Bills, excited for that. And then Commanders, Bengals in the second half. That's a game even for the Bengals, even though I'm not excited to watch it from a competitive standpoint. That's a game where I should feel confident that I can turn it off at halftime and not pay attention to anything in the second half for the Bengals on the Commanders.
Absolutely.
It is a big week 3, man. Get excited.
I want to ask you this, and we'll both answer it because I do think it's funny. And it's what we view as the most competitive division. What are your rankings of the AFC North? Mine are Bengals, Ravens, which is funny because they're 0-2, Steelers, and then Browns.
Yeah, I guess I would have Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. So I would have the same as you.
Where do you see any fluctuation possibly coming in this upcoming week?
In terms of the standings? Or of our rankings?
No, for your power rankings.
If the Steelers beat the
I
Chargers,
can see the Browns going over the Steelers if the Steelers lose to the Chargers and the Browns will dominate the Giants.
Well, I could even see the Steelers going over the. I mean, if the Ravens fall to 0-3,
That's the thing. That's the other thing. Like, I think the Ravens might fall to 0-3.
and if the Steelers, even if the Steelers lose at 2-1, and if they play the Chargers well, like I may put the Steelers ahead of the Ravens just because 2-1 and 0-3 is huge.
Yeah. Is there any way that I guess we already went through all that? All right. I think we're good. I'm excited. I'm loving these power rankings. Are you totally out on the Browns, even though that defense like still does look great?
Yeah.
Like, you know why they beat the Jags?
Why?
Because they didn't turn over the ball on offense, and that defense did what that defense does. Just
Which is
stop
crazy.
turning over the fucking football.
We
It
talked
drove me
about
nuts last year. I got so mad last year that like Kevin Stefanski, and I would argue with Rose on this. Kevin Stefanski would coach like coach of the year. I was like, bullshit. Honestly, he's one of the coaches I'm most pissed off at because his defense is sick, which he doesn't coach, and his offense keeps fucking them they're leading the league in turnovers. Stop turning over the ball. Let your defense win games for you, and they just continue to do that. They did it in week 1. Week 2, they didn't, and then they won a close game versus the Jags.
But the amount of plays that they ran, I mean, there was 18-play drive, 17-play drive. That's not going to happen every week. They're
also really injured too.
Not going to happen every week.
They're really banged up too. So yeah,
who brought? Oh, no, the Chiefs brought back Kareem Hunt, not the Browns.
Yep, Kareem Hunt is back where it all started. Stay out of hotels, my friend. All right, we will see you guys on Friday for a preview pod. Until then, that is football today.